I wish there was something that was innocuous that you could use.
There are neo-pronouns, which are not really so neo.
Let's invent one. Let's coin something.
Linguist Dennis Barron documented 250 years of attempts to find the perfect singular, non-gendered pronoun.
Everybody had an idea.
A combination of he, she, heesh.
One of my favorites is ip, I-P, ip.
Instead of his, her, hisser.
Thon is pretty much dead now, although at one time it was the most commonly used.
Some neopronouns are based off of pre-existing nouns.
B. Barbera uses they, them, and noun self pronouns, generated from a noun, they, fair.
That's a pronoun I predominantly use with other trans and non-binary people. It expresses a concept of femininity outside of the binary.
Why is it important for you that people use your pronouns?
Because it means that they're acknowledging me under my reality rather than their assumed reality of me.
One country, Sweden, adopted a one non-gendered pronoun fits all approach. Hen, a new non-gendered pronoun borrowed from Finland, was on the sidelines for years until a children's book of all things, about a kid who wants a dog, started a public debate just by using the word.
In the beginning, all of the people were super negative towards the word.
6 years ago, it was officially added to the Swedish
We
dictionary.
can see that it
Professor Marie Gustafsson Sandén says now studies suggest it may be helping to promote gender equality.
I think that it's a super important contribution to have a new word, because that has not been associated with anything else from before.
We don't fall into like,
Utah sociologist Kyle Meyer says
I don't think making a third box is the answer.
she raised her child Zoomer as them and let them choose their own pronoun when they wanted to, which he did at age 4.
We're just not ever going to find some perfect pronoun that everybody knows about and everybody likes, because just our language evolves.
Dennis Barron says it's clear they will probably remain the pronoun of choice and that language will just adapt. The same way you, once just plural, became plural and singular.
They use singular they, them all the time, right? Like we use it all the time.
People have been using singular they for quite a while. You might say, tell that person I'll call them back. George Bernard Shaw wrote, it's enough to drive anyone out of their senses.
Oh yes, I will try.
So Lori Miller says she'll just keep trying to get used to they.
But I will try because I want her to feel comfortable. Her. I did it wrong again.
For the sake of them.
If it makes them happy, that's all I care about. I just want them to be happy.
The project description for this entry is a Colorado woman isn't letting a cancer diagnosis stop her from reaching new heights. Multimedia journalist Evan Krugel takes us from the doctor's office to the trails in Climbing Through Cancer.
So many Coloradans, Kim Bierbrower never misses a chance to get outside, lacing up her sneakers for her daily run on the backside of North Table Mountain outside of Golden.
Running is the place where I feel most like myself.
But in May, the marathon runner noticed something felt off.
I couldn't get to the top of our street. I couldn't get to the top of my stairs.
Doctors thought it could be asthma, but her symptoms quickly got worse.
I really tanked the next morning and finally just told my husband I'm gonna go to the emergency room.
A blood sample in the ER revealing Bierbrower had leukemia.
I eat healthy, I'm young, I've never smoked, I've never done drugs. Like, there's no way I could have cancer, but I was wrong.
The mother of 3 was quickly transferred to the Colorado Blood Cancer Institute.
You're feeling okay though?
Yep, feel fine.
And into the care of Dr. Luke Mountjoy.
Still jogging and all that
Yeah,
stuff?
I went this morning.
How far did you go?
6.5. But 6.5 trail miles equal more road miles.
Dr. Mountjoy quickly put her on a regimen of drugs.
Her treatment needed to be aggressive.
So you can imagine his surprise when Kim announced plans to climb all 14,000 feet of Mount Bierstadt after her 9-year-old son suggested it.
I was like, oh my gosh, you're on active treatment and you want to do all this.
I'm not really sure he believed me that I was going to do it.
But together, they worked out a plan. And on a cold October morning, she set off, her chemo drugs by her side in a backpack. Reaching the summit was a moment she'll never forget.
Going forward and knowing that these next few months are going to be less fun for me, they're going to be hard. I think having these moments to look back on and forward to, that's what I think about.
Those pictures of her and her husband sort of spread like a wildfire through the department.
Dr. Mountjoy admits those photos were emotional for him.
I know what it's like to sit in that chair.
Mountjoy overcame leukemia himself at the age of 17.
But that journey is why I'm able to get here and take care of people like Kim.
Kim has printed out these photos, which will sit next to her bed in the hospital as she receives a bone marrow transplant from her brother.
To have those pictures in front of me, it will be a great reminder of who I am and what I'm hoping to return to.
Memories to reflect on as she begins climbing her next mountain, likely the toughest one yet.
Oh yes, I cannot wait to cross the finish line.
Sorry about that. This entry's project description is a discussion about the use of a historically Black Denver neighborhood's name spreading across the city.
All right, family, y'all give me 2 seconds.
Community is more than a word.
Family, give us about like 25 to 30 minutes.
It's taking care of each other.
Thank you.
And having difficult conversations.
Let me see.
Like the ones happening at the Welton Street Cafe at the heart of 5 Points, where there is some honest talk about Black history and how to preserve it.
My blood, sweat, and tears goes into this neighborhood.
It's that heartbeat.
Okay, what color, baby?
Fatima Dickerson, who helps run the cafe, says is slowing down to the point of vanishing.
The Black community wants to make sure we still have a place in 5 Points. You know what I'm saying? We still want to make sure we have a place along the Welton corridor.
Fatima says there are literally signs the history of 5 Points is being diluted as businesses further away from the main corridor take on the 5 Points name.
It's almost like there's an erasure, a removal of the actual people, because even though it's including the name, like who are the representatives?
I took a trip on the train.
Tonight, you are going to experience the sounds of 5 Points.
It's a conversation Pernell Steen, a local musician, has been having for years. The kind of music he plays is the music he heard growing up along the Welton Street corridor.
Cultural history of my ancestors, that's the story that we are telling through jazz.
5 Points became a place of solidarity for the Black community through the years.
We had barber shops, beauty shops, as I said, record stores. We had all of the infrastructural businesses to be self-contained. It was a place of camaraderie, fun.
A place musicians would come from across the country to visit.
And to see especially brown-skinned entertainers, wow.
Now Steen says the name is wandering further from the heart of this historically Black neighborhood, with new developments, new money, and new faces. This is where things get complicated. Technically, the 5 Points neighborhood is much larger than the Welton Street corridor. The city map shows it bordering Downing Street, following 20th Street, including Coors Field, and up the South Platte River.
So we're on the corner of
Brighton Boulevard and 35th in the heart of the Art District, and also in 5 Points.
It's why Tracy Wheel, the executive director of the Rhino Art District, said they put up signs like this throughout the neighborhood.
You know, we're not here to usurp a name. We're here to, you know, create and respect for those neighborhoods. There's people that think that around Welton Street that's really 5 Points, and there's people that also think that the entire map that, you know, the city of Denver has out there that kind of defines all the neighborhoods is 5 Points. So it just depends on who you talk to, frankly.
Odell Brewery also changed their name from Rhino Brew House on Larimer Street to the 5 Points Brew House. They said no to an interview, but did tell us they did not do this for the marketing, but to honor the neighborhood after doing their research and talking to community organizations. The brewery also said they trained their staff about the history.
I get the part of inclusion. Like, we want to include it because even being a part of the neighborhood association, like, our boundaries are more than just the corridor. So I get that piece.
We started this series to bring intentionality back to jazz in the 5 Points neighborhood.
To try and preserve 5 Points history, people like Gertie Harris with Fireside at 5.
I am going to bring up the band now.
Worked with Steen to put on a jazz festival at Tracks on 35th and Walnut.
I think the biggest thing for us is we wanted to book artists that really embody and champion that Harlem of the West culture in modern day Mile High. We've compiled QR codes where people can learn about the different bars that used to be open on Welton Street and hear about nonprofit organizations like Welton Street Renaissance Project.
Mr. Turner, we'll be right with you. He came in yesterday, had a cafe sandwich with no tartar sauce.
But on Walton Street, Fatima is raising the question,
doing well.
Who are people learning this history from?
When people are trying to make claim to a name or a place, when you're not a part of the story, you're telling the story from observation and not through lived experiences. I'm here every day.
Ultimately, the community seems to want to take care of the history behind their name.
5 Points is about the people. 5 Points is about connection.
But it might mean more tough conversations.
Let's find a way to work together.
And collaboration.
Welton Street Cafe.
For next.
You want them seasoned or regular?
I'm Anusha Roy.
The project description for this entry is a region that lost its most vital economic engine is looking forward to atypical ways of filling the gap.
The places that raise and mold us sometimes never let go.
I love these mountains.
And when we feel they're overlooked or ignored, we fight for them.
There's no other place I'd want to be, you know.
James Cyphers is a lifelong West Virginian.
It's beautiful.
So is Randy Smith.
All the wilderness you can imagine.
They know most people outside their state will likely never pass through it. But they preach for it. They fight for it. Even through a few buzzy boxes.
The most fascinating thing I've ever fooled with.
Their backyards are bee yards. Both Cyphers and Smith produce hives of local honey.
It's amazing how the queen, she'll create other queens knowing that one of them will actually kill her because she's more interested in the longevity of the hive.
In West Virginia, one queen has reigned for decades over a drying hive.
I grew up in Coal City. It's not in its heyday anymore.
Smith worked in the coal industry his entire life. Cyphers did for years until the work went away.
It's home to me, but it's just a run down now because most of the coal mines are gone now. And it's not the people's fault, you know, it's just the location and the economy.
Across the country, communities that thrived on one industry have been forced to change. Wisconsin is losing a dairy farm a day. The Carolinas used to hold so many jobs in textiles and clothing before machines took over. In West Virginia, coal mines employ a tenth of what they used to.
It's difficult for some to let go of the past. To some extent, that's all of us.
Mark Lilly oversees the Appalachian Beekeeping Collective.
Does this initiative have anything directly to do with coal?
No, I don't think so.
But they can't help but intersect. Their facility stands on an old summer camp for coal miners' children. Their mission, training beekeepers to produce natural honey, is a new lane in a region that needs them.
Drawbacks to those regions are how inaccessible they are, but that's what makes it so perfect for the opportunity of beekeeping. With 5, 6, 7 years experience, it'll be easy for somebody to earn $20,000 or $30,000 a year, which again may sound like a little bit, but if that's more than your county's average annual income, that's big.
Yeah. Are there any overlaps between what it's like to work in a coal mine and what it's like to work out here?
No, not at all. It's totally different.
Cyphers is retired now, so is Smith. Beekeeping to them is a hobby. For some, it may become a career. It will never remotely usurp the queen. Maybe that's okay. For so many in this state, leaving the place they love, the place that raised them, is not up for debate. The point is to fight.
If we replace one piece of a large puzzle with 10 smaller pieces that are at least, or in my opinion, better, that's fine. Instead of complaining about, oh, we've been dealt lemons, like we've got the world's best lemonade. Let's just take advantage of it.
In Hinton, West Virginia, I'm Matt Pearl.
The project description for this entry is there's a massive wealth gap in America and a few resources exist to combat it. Here's a modest one that's taken hold in one of the country's largest cities.
Okay, welcome. This is our fourth and last session. It's been a pleasure.
What's so frustrating is it's so simple.
Follow the 4 rules, you will be wealthier.
Many who study finance say anyone can build wealth. Just invest early, invest in wide-ranging mutual funds, and save from every paycheck, even if you can't save much.
Financial empowerment. The wealthier the household, the healthier the household.
But too often, these lessons stay confined to skyscrapers and affluent areas. They don't travel to tables like these.
Our financial history probably started with Grandpa.
On this night in South Philadelphia,
Yes, we can.
Veronica Ahiagbi and her sister, daughter, and grandson are talking about saving.
I never knew anything about the stock market.
Just know something is off.
It's a conversation long overdue.
I didn't know anything about financial literacy.
Would you say you're financially secure now?
I would say I'm on the road to trying to become financially secure. Yes.
Veronica started on that road when she learned about Bridges to Wealth.
First in the series.
It's a program that provides financial literacy training for high schoolers in the city's lowest income neighborhoods. It also offers sessions for parents and, in Veronica's case, grandparents.
I had a fear, and it was real to me, that it was risky. Right now, I'm still the face and the voice.
Dr. Keith Weigelt co-founded the program.
I want to cover reverse mortgages.
Among the adults, 95% are minorities, 70% are women who are heads of the household, and 96% who start stay with it. That's crucial, because in the United States, white families average 10 times the net worth of black families.
What does it say to you that there is such a large wealth gap?
Well, it says that there is lots of discrimination, and all we're doing is offering education and opportunity.
The wealth gap was wide enough before the COVID-19 pandemic, but the last 2 years have stretched it even wider. Those with means and jobs have been able to build upon their savings. Those without have had to dig in.
The U.S. saving rate hit record highs in April, but most came from homes that were high income. 31% of black Americans reported losing all their savings,
more than half reported serious financial problems versus less than a third of white Americans. Those numbers, past and present,
I could spend all day on
make conversations at kitchen tables complicated. Veronica's daughter, Alexis.
What can you do with frustration when you don't know where to point the finger?
Her grandson, Daryl.
$50 a week is like, unimaginable to some kid out on the street. They wish they can get $50 a week.
Of course, it's frustrating. But through Bridges to Wealth, the adults at this table have joined investing groups. Veronica's put her pension into mutual funds and built it up by 20%.
Knowledge is the key. I'm not upset. We just want to have access to the same knowledge. It starts with conversations.
The hope for Bridges to Wealth is to expand beyond Philadelphia, getting out of downtowns and onto kitchen tables.
If you have any questions, let us know.
So that many more can begin to build on lessons so simple.
Maybe pass something on to the generations to come would be my gift to them.
Okay, I'm going to have to go.
In Philadelphia.
Thank you.
I'm Matt Pearl.
The project description for this entry is a North Texas high school carries a legacy.
All right, here we go.
Think of mariachi less as a genre of music.
3 and 4.
And more as a collection of old stories.
It's your time to shine, violins.
Its roots are in Mexico. And today, it's flourishing hundreds of miles from the border in the homes of students in North Texas.
Good luck, guys. Have a good show.
North High School Mariachi Escuelas de Plata. You may begin your performance for the 2021 UIL State Mariachi Festival.
And 1, 2, 1.
The story of Northside High School in Fort Worth
Big
started when director Ramon Nino wanted to change an old narrative.
But it was never really our goal to win. It was more to just go out there and make a mark for North Texas Mariachi because it was so heavy populated by South Texas Mariachi group.
The team just started competing in 2014 and 3 years later beat a Grammy-nominated group for a national title. And every year they've entered the State Mariachi Festival, they've received the highest score possible. The secret of their success starts not in the classroom, but at home.
We get the pride of this is the music my parents and my grandparents grew up with and listened to, and this is what they were singing when they were working in the field.
Senior Diana Aguado and her sophomore brother Nestor lived just a few blocks from the school. And in their home, practice is a family pastime.
We just love singing. That's what we do for fun.
It's this feeling that I can't even explain. It brings you like so much happiness.
When they immigrated from Mexico, Diana was 10, Nestor was 8, and the family tradition came with them.
I feel like sometimes we just need a reminder of who we are.
Next year, Diana will become the first in her family to attend college, but she almost didn't finish high school.
It was difficult, yeah, because my father had always been there for us, and then we had to be there for him.
Her freshman year, her father was diagnosed with prostate cancer, and the family returned to Mexico.
Medicine here and the treatment, everything is very expensive. We're gonna move and we are going to do this together as a family, and that's what we did.
When his condition improved, the family moved back to their home in Fort Worth, but Nestor and Diana had missed a year of school. Taking summer classes and doubling up in the fall, she caught up, and now she's not just attending any college.
And I checked my status. I was like, what? I couldn't believe it. So you're admitted to Johns Hopkins University, class of 2025.
She'll be headed there on a full ride. And the other 3 seniors in mariachi are headed to Stanford, Notre Dame, and TCU. and all have full scholarships. The harmony between excelling both in class and on stage is a habit they inherited.
We grew up with hardworking people, we're gonna be hardworking people because we grew up with that mentality.
There's no secret sauce. I think it's just the recipes for success, right? Is just keep trying till you get it right.
That recipe is working.
When you put in the work and the effort, the dedication, if you really want to achieve something, you can.
This year, the team's state festival streak continued. But they did more than get a top score.
Ms. Martinez, where are you? Every single one of you got outstanding performance medal.
To top it all off, and tomorrow they graduate and they go out to the real world, you know? And so this is an amazing last memory.
Yeah, this is my last means a lot to me.
There is no mariachi program at Johns Hopkins. Diana picked it for one reason.
Like, I have the opportunity to do something for others, and so I'm gonna take it.
She wants to study oncology and become a doctor treating cancer patients.
I wanna help other people like my dad, and I wanna do that for the rest of my life.
A home isn't walls or borders, it's where our roots grow. Mariachi thrives here because it's how to keep home with you, no matter how far you go.
The project description for this entry is a project highlighting abolitionist Frederick Douglass shows the relevance of his messages in turbulent times today.
The reason why I like to make sculptures of people is that I get to study people. Clay is so impressionable, you can pretty much shape it any way you like.
Olivia Kim can see it in their faces.
Sculpture in particular is unforgiving. There's no way that you could make something, disrespect the nature of the material, and get away with it.
Not that they would let her.
Clay can capture so many details, so many subtleties.
And so many eyes. On the Rochester artist whose works are seen all around her city by so many eyes.
When you really try to capture what a human being is, you realize that there are incredible amounts of layers to a person.
Of the many things Rochester is known for, one figure stands out.
Frederick Douglass's legacy is very, very profound in terms of this country, this world, the values that we hold right now.
Slave, abolitionist, writer. Frederick Douglass spent a significant part of his life here.
Just to see 13 monuments around the city of Rochester that represent what Frederick Douglass's life was about is just incredible.
Carvin Eisen is a professor and general manager of RCTV, a community media operation.
We got a lot of things going. We're going to do more, too.
Eisen enlisted Kim to create the statues, one of which sits in the station lobby, to celebrate the Frederick Douglass bicentennial and the man's legacy.
The first thing that comes to my mind is this notion of truth in a democracy. I would believe that Frederick Douglass, if he were here, would have a lot to say about that.
A clear vision for blurred times.
There is real division here, and there's different versions of the truth now, and so that's fundamentally different from when the values that Frederick Douglass stood for and what he did in his time.
This whole thing of Douglass on our minds, right, is really because freedom is a very big issue right now.
Artists, often fuse together the past and present. In these eyes, the message is clear.
I didn't make this as a political statement. I know there are a lot of isms going around right now, and everybody has their crusade that they're on, but my thing was really just about being inspired by an exemplary human being.
In Rochester, Seth Voorhees, Spectrum News.
The project description for this entry is a preacher with an unusual message has a completely new message to share now.
Super kick, and that could be all she wrote.
When we first met Rob Vaughn,
And the Jesus freak.
it was pretty obvious he was a Jesus freak.
Where is he getting the stamina? This second
It
win.
said so on his shorts,
In the big.
and that he'd found a pretty remarkable way to draw a crowd, just so he could do this.
Man, that's the greatest tag team partner you can find right there, is Jesus.
A ministry going on nearly 20 years. But on June 12th, after a night of wrestling, the applause stopped. In his tiny rental home in Rockwall,
791, what's the location of the emergency?
Rob Vaughn was dead.
So I'm at my house.
His daughter Brooke made the call.
And my stepdad is in the shower, and my mom's trying to get him out. We don't think he's breathing.
He was on the bathroom floor, his body blocking the closed door.
Mom, I need you to tell me what to tell the... Oh my God! He's dead. No, the door's closed. I don't need to hurry. He's trying to give him CPR.
Rob's wife Beth wrestled the bathroom door open and crawled inside.
Mom, is he breathing? No. She said no.
We're going to work with him. We're going to try to help him. I need you to put me on speakerphone, and I'm going to walk you through CPR, okay? Count out loud so I can count with you. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4.
It had been less than 4 minutes since they called for help, when that help stormed through the front door.
Is somebody there with you?
Yes, they're here.
Okay, I'm going to let you go work with them.
Now, he was grey, his eyes were pointing different directions, his lips were blue, and I didn't think he was going to make it.
Rockwall police officer David Taylor was on patrol in the neighborhood that night, followed by a second officer and paramedics who shocked Rob Vaughn, restarting his heart 3 times. And once they rushed him to Baylor Scott and White Lake Point in Rowlett, they had to shock him 2 times more. It was a complete blockage, the one they called the Widowmaker. That's what they told his wife.
But I kept remembering in my head, I just found you. I just found you 8 years ago. I am not ready to give you up.
And she didn't have to.
If we were still in our big house, we would have been on opposite ends of the house, and she may not have found me in time.
Because Rob Vaughn, now with a stent in that mended heart, is alive.
I know they say, well, it's just doing my job. Well, doing their job kept the family together.
Mm-hmm.
And her remembering CPR kept me around. So it's more than just doing a job.
And there was one more person he needed to tell that to, the police officer with the British accent. It happened at Rockwall City Hall.
Glad you're here. Yes, thank you.
You're very welcome. That was excellent.
Good to finally meet you.
That's definitely the highlight of my career. Yeah, he's still here to enjoy his life with his family, his daughter, his wife.
I know they said they're just doing their job. They're not heroes, but they are to me because they kept our family together.
Angel is all I can say. These are the angels right here.
Those angels got life-saving commendations that night, and the City Hall crowd got a special visitor.
I just want to say thank you. I'm the life that they saved that night, so I am glad to be here.
And that's what Rob and his family promised to do now. A man used to spreading the gospel has a couple of extra verses to share now. The gospel of CPR.
God still has work for Rob Vaughn and I and this family to do.
You know, we believe all things happen for a reason, and And this is just part of our story now, a new part of it. And so, you know, we are here to champion that people need to learn CPR. It does save lives.
Because wrestling mat or bathroom floor,
And we don't know how many days we have on this earth.
he's not down for the count just yet. In Rockwall, I'm Kevin Reese.
Alrighty then. Can I put Cody on the spot? He's never gone first.
Throw him under the bus. Let's do it. I'm gonna drive it, or I'm a passenger if you're driving. I'm good. Let's do it. Cody, you're up.
Yeah, the last one I was kind of confused by, so I was actually just writing my notes, but it was powerful sound. And I'm not so much sure of like what the story was besides the powerful sound. It just was going back and forth between the wrestling. I'm guessing that was the old him. I don't know. It was just confusing. There were some bad dissolves. But as far as some of the stuff that I enjoyed, let me see. I gotta go back through my notes. I don't know. This one was tough because I'm not really seeing a lot that stood out for me. I did like the first one, I believe, if I'm remembering. It was a lot of Zoom. So, yes. I felt like I learned something. It was a different approach. I did enjoy that it was a Zoom interview for the most part, besides I think one interview, but it didn't feel like a Zoom interview or Zoom story. The graphics helped make it move. So I think that is award worthy in my book. Mixing audio. I mean, the second one, there was nothing too much there. I mean, it was clean cuts, smooth shots. That's all that I had down on that one. So, you know, I don't know. Let me go back and trying to remember what that one was. Obviously, it didn't stick out to me that much. I don't know. To me, the very first one, I didn't mind the mariachi high school. The coloring did bug me in some areas. There, and if I'm being picky, there was some hiss in some of the audio towards the end, but it's very minor. I was just, you know, trying to go through and look to see the pros and cons. But for the most part, compared to others, I think that those two are, in my book, award worthy.
Those are the two I had starred as well. The mariachi thing, the whole left turn with Dad was weird. I don't know how, and then coming back from him was even harder. And then the very ending was too damn preachy. It should have ended when the guy was singing and he put his hand up. Story told. It was just too. But other than that, it was great.
Was she insinuating that Dad has cancer? I was a little confused at the end there.
It was just, I don't know. I mean, I think it was one of those, everyone has to overcome something. So he felt he had to include that. I thought that for me, the obstacle for the group was they were trying to bring mariachi, or that North Texas belonged in the mariachi conversation. I thought that was, you know, the obstacle, and they have done it, but then they bring in this dad and going to college. And I thought the dad thing was just out of left field. The going to college thing is fine. I think that would, you know, giving a list of people who are going where, I think that's fine, but it was just weird at that point. But it was really, I was all in until Dad showed up, and I got confused. But to Cody's point, the very first one was slick. I mean, it was slick. Usually when I try to attempt something with nothing but text and stuff, there's always a glitch or something, and I say, screw it. I don't care about the glitch. I'm done. So I'm just tired of this thing. So whatever that guy or gal was trying to accomplish, they accomplished it. And that was a lot of movement. So I really, really like the edit on the first one.
Anastasia?
So after watching the first one, I'm like, let's see if they can up this. I mean, it was just, I thought, impossible to overcome that. It was so creative. It was so beautiful. It was so engaging. They made something so complicated and potentially boring just so excellent. So I'm like, can we give them more than first place? It was just incredible to me. Climbing through cancer. Oh my God, this person, I feel like we've seen him in so many categories and he's really trying, and I'm like, we should give him something for trying, not to discourage him, right? Because he's like really, really attempting it, and he's falling just a little bit flat, but the effort is there. I thought the 5 points story, other than the drone, for the love of everything sacred, did you not, like, I don't know, I was just triggered all over the place. However, outside of the drone, I thought that the audio was nice, and the transition from the train to the music was really slick. I really just enjoyed that. Like, the audio transitions and the video transitions really worked for me. I think they were really smooth and took me from place to place through sound and visually. I think that they were beautiful. I think it's worth something. God bless Matt Pearl, West Virginia, and the other one, I'm like, oh, that has to be Matt before I even saw anything. West Virginia was really beautiful. I could not understand what the F the story was about until I have like 50% into it. So I'm just going to move on from that. I'm going to move on from the computer on the street. Can I just quickly say, for the sake of saying it, because it's gonna make me feel better, the sculptures of people, the microphone on the African-American interview, I was having a seizure, or a coronary, one of those. I was like, why? The last one, I couldn't understand what the story was about. It was so much there, and it's Kevin Reese, and everybody's told me that Kevin Reese is incredible, and I'm watching this and I'm like, maybe I'm stupid. It's quite possible that I don't belong in this panel, and just Sean ran out of people to ask.
I felt the same thing about me.
And I said, yes.
Yeah. Don't throw me
Tony,
under
it's
the
you
bus.
and I.
Don't throw
We're
me
just
under
going to
the
blame
bus.
Sean.
Yeah, it's all Sean's fault. He said there has to
it's
be
all Sean's
the best
fault.
editor.
I mean, I've seen what Cody can do, so I understand in whose presence I am. Aaron, I've not seen your work. I can Google it. I'm sure it's pretty decent. However, like, if I'm not understanding Kevin Reese and everybody raves about Kevin Reese, there must be something wrong with me.
Well,
but I just did not.
I think everything in that last piece was there. I think it felt rushed. It just felt rushed to me.
Really, I
the
thought that there was too much of that 911.
There was, I mean, that's what I mean. I mean, and who the hell was on the 911 call? Was that the daughter or the mother? So
it was the daughter.
And then why didn't we ever hear from the daughter?
I don't know.
She was in the shots.
Yeah, I thought the exact same thing. I was waiting to hear.
And usually I've done stories on this. Like, there's no bond besides a man and an unwanted dog. There's no better bond than a dad and a daughter. So, and I say that because I didn't want my dog, and holy cow, I love her more than I do my kids. So, but that's because they're squawky. Yes, son, be quiet. He said, hey. And so I felt that was rushed for him. It could have been dumped on him and he had to, I don't know, but it felt rushed.
It didn't look dumped. Like, the 911 call would have taken a minute to get. The graphics of the 911 call took a minute to put together. Why did we hear so much of the 911 call? Because so much of it to me was irrelevant. Why did he say the guy is dead versus the daughter weeping and saying he's dead?
Right.
why did it matter that the guy on the other side had a British accent? And did anybody figure out that the guy who he thanked was the guy who saved his life? I didn't see it. I didn't hear it. Did you see it? Did I miss it?
Yeah. Okay, so that one's definitely not in.
Again,
and to your point of whoever the
somebody
reporter
teach
is,
me.
he may have just had a bad day. And that
I
may have
really
been-
liked the story. I think I agreed the 911 call was too much. I was questioning. Was like, am I confused? Did the mom make the call or because for a while I'm like, all right, the daughter, and then the mom was taking over. So I agree with those points. Yeah, I don't know. I really enjoyed the claim to a name, the editing. The story was a little too much maybe, but I thought the transitions and the audio blend were really smooth. I liked Climbing Through Cancer. While it was simple, I thought there were a couple reveals that I thought were done. You could sit for a second and absorb it. Thought that was a cool story. And the doctor sharing his previous battle took it to another level for me.
That was a nice twist.
But
so do we all agree that pronouns are is the best one, the first one that we watched?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's number one. What do we like for number two?
I don't think the gospel of CPR, I don't think that's involved. I see it highlighted. I don't think that's involved. I think we just wanted to pounce on something. we saw something fuzzy and we chased it and beat it up.
No, it's my fault. I'm like, I'm owning it. Like I heard so many good things about this person, and I'm just like, maybe I'm missing it. Like I'm missing something, and it's on me. So moving on. We talked about Climbing Through Cancer. We talked about 5 points.
I think high school would be worth.
Yeah.
High school was good. Yeah.
Mariachi band. That man, if they just got rid of 2 elements out of that, it would have been like
that's why
we would be talking for 2 hours about whether it should be first place or not.
I disagree.
Because of the
I disagree with you guys.
Really?
Personally, I'd have Climbing Through Cancer second because I feel like the other 2 stories are like just kind of too many different stories.
No, you're right.
I will agree with you just because it was simple and clean, and I really would like to encourage him to keep trying. I want to crush his spirit.
Well,
no, I think it's deserving on its own, but
whether he's trying or not. I mean, the 5 points. I wrote something here. I think there's 5 different stories there, and there might be 3 or 4 stories in each one of those. So from 3 or 4 different businesses to 5 or 6 different musicians to the arts there was a lot going on in there, and I just didn't know who it was about. And I don't think they pulled off 5 points is what it was about. Although they kept saying it, but it didn't resonate with. It was shot beautifully. It was edited immaculately. I just wasn't sure the story was there for a second place. Maybe an honorable mention for 5 points. Maybe. If we do honorable mention. And I kind of feel
I would give it number 3.
You think so?
Because I think to me, they delivered. Yeah, to me, I understand what they were trying to do. They were trying to tell a story of a predominantly Black neighborhood through multiple lenses and people who are trying to preserve it. Now, I got that, but that's just me. And I think the flawless execution of shots and editing deserves it. It was an award worthy. So we can give it an honorable mention if you want. If we all agree that the mariachi thing was number 3, because we're agreeing that Climbing Through Cancer is number 2. Did we?
I am.
Yes.
Yeah.
Gentlemen. Yeah. Okay. So pronouns number 1, Climbing Through Cancer number 2. So now we're between 3 and honorable mention.
Yeah.
So we have 5 points and mariachi.
Mariachi had some color issues and some focus issues. And it didn't even look like the editor tried to enhance the focus a little bit. So, you know, and you can do that through contrast and little color correction. But I mean, you couldn't do too much. Some of that focus was pretty soft. I mean, softer than the Zoom meeting, soft. So, you know, but we can't do. They didn't touch it. They just kind of let it be. So maybe mariachi is an honorable mention because they didn't. What's the word I'm looking for? They didn't zhuzh it up maybe a little bit. Enhance or whatever.
It's not as crisp.
Yeah. They could have.
It's not as crisp as 5 points, technically.
Well, I mean, 5 points. I mean, everything is on. The edits are where they should be. All that kind of stuff. I will not take away from 5 points technical edit. It's strong. So I believe it does deserve a third place. I'm just whether do we give mariachi an honorable mention or not? Because I love the kids and I love the story. Doesn't mean it's worth an honorable mention, but you know, it was edited well, except in a couple weird places.
I'm with you. I think it deserves an honorable mention. I mean, it was not perfect, but I think the sound was good. The way that it was shot, like how the photographer transitioned, like
and
naming
this
the
this
three
is solo.
kids.
This is solo. I didn't realize that again. This is solo video.
Is it solo?
That's solo. So we can actually,
Who did it?
I don't know, but we can just, now that I know it's solo, I was thinking editor only.
Is this all solo for this category, for this,
yeah,
this particular project?
This SVP it's 29 hard feature edit SVP. Solo video photojournalist. Is that what that? I forget.
All of these people are solo journalists that produce these pieces.
Yeah. So now I don't know if I like mariachi so much.
Huh. I know. Mariachi moved me.
I think I would still have that over. We're talking as an HM.
Yeah.
I feel like I would still have that over the other pieces remaining.
Yep.
I mean, just for the audio blend was pretty complicated.
You know, it was.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a lot going on audio wise.
So,
can I tell you, I love the fact that they went home with the family. That to me, that's the difference between working and not caring. Yeah, that was, and it's a pain in the ass because, you know, they're in a pandemic. Can I go home with you? You know?
It's going to be fine. I know you're in a tiny house. You're in a 4x4 room. It's going to be enough. It's fine.
I've only been coughing for a week. You'll be fine.
Yeah. Don't worry, please. I'm fine. It's not COVID.
We're good with pronouns first. We're good with climbing through cancer second. We're good through claim to a name third. And we're good with mariachi high honorable mention.
Yep.
I'm sorry. You said 5 points. Third, right, Sean?
Claim to a name. That's 5 points.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Because Tony was having a seizure over there, so I didn't hear you quite well. Right.